I'm grateful you were able to jump on here, Rahelio.
Yes.
You know, we were really kind of going through elders again, and I was just like, oh, Rahelio. So yeah, I know. Sorry it was later bit notice than what I wish I could have informed you just a little bit sooner, but I'm happy you were able to make it anyways.
Yeah, so it's all going good. It's Mercury retrograde and still all good.
Yeah. And I hope in this chat we can, get into a little bit of the what's happening in the cosmos as you feel, or as you've studied or looked into. And yeah, because it's been, I don't know about you, but it's been pretty intense, huh?
Yeah, it is. The time of change is upon us.
Yeah.
Sabra,
right.
Welcome, Sabra. I'm glad you found your way to the West.
Thank you. This is, I'm still learning these new things. Good to see all of you.
Yes, see you, Sabra. Thank you.
I was happy to, Piro sent me your link to one of your videos, Rahelio. It was wonderful. It was 39 minutes long. It was like, wow, okay. A real lesson there in your beautiful country. Aloha to all of you.
Yes. Awesome. Yeah, I'm grateful so grateful to be here with you, Sabra. I've heard many good things about you, and I'm really looking forward to chatting with you and seeing what you might be able to offer. But I really am. Kaua'i has been a big part of my journey too. So when I heard you were there, I was like, oh, I got some questions for her, and maybe it'll help, with the greater good for the chat room. So yes. Yes. Aloha.
Yeah, aloha. Yeah, Kaua'i, that was one of the most spectacular, it's unparalleled beauty in my way of looking at nature. It was just so abundantly beautiful. So blessed to have you coming from that sacred place.
Yeah. All right, I think it's that time, huh? Should we start? And before we really dive into this, I would I'll ask, because we have both elders here. I'd like to, I don't know how you feel, Sabra or Rahelio, but I'd really like to open this direction of the West with a prayer. If any one of you would like to offer some words, both of you would be great.
She can go first if she likes. Or I will.
Great. Yeah, we'll start with Sabra and then we'll go to Rahelio. Awesome.
I'm happy to offer this prayer and this chant of aloha to each and every one of you. It's a little overcast here today, but it's very green and it's beginning to warm up with our summer. So this speaks of the sun that rises in the east. Ea e kalama kahikina, kahiki mai aloha kupunae, kukahali ai kali avaikini, waiale hale molale e, eia e na puale mokihana, kamawai lualani uavehi e, evehi ke ia aloha e, aloha kuone hana ue, aloha no, aloha e, mano kalani po, aloha e, aloha no, aloha e, mano kalani po, aloha e. Aloha.
Aloha. Thank you for that beautiful, beautiful song. Here in Sedona, the sun is beginning to set. The setting sun is a place of the West. It is a place of looking within, We may reflect upon our heart, upon our wisdom through our experience. It is a place of the grizzly bear that when we look into our heart, we can find the strength of our soul. And the bear gives us the power, strength through introspection. So in the West here, I give thanks to you, Great Spirit, that we may look within our hearts, know that we are all related, we are all connected, all sentient beings in the circle of life. I ask your blessings, help us that we may remember who we are, that we may remember that we walk upon this Mother Earth, and that we may come into her dream of sacredness, bring blessings to all of our relations. We give thanks to you, Sacred Mother Earth, Sky Father, to all of our relatives in the circle of life. Aho, so be it. Aho.
Aho. Ona Niwakan. Thank you, Rahelio. Thank you, Sabra. And yeah, so I'd like to also, if Julian, you want to introduce yourself, and then I'll introduce myself just so everyone knows who's facilitating this room with these wonderful elders.
Sure, Adam. Yeah, so my name is Julian Silburn. I'm here in Whadjuk country, Whadjuk Budja, part of the Noongar Nation, the Bibbulmun people, where the freshwater, the Derbil Yerrigan meets the ocean, the salt water. So yeah, I live close to that river area. It's very beautiful. Adam's just come from there not too long ago. So yeah, just paying my respects to the elders and ancestors of the country where this meeting is being hosted from, and all the good spirit, all the positive energies of this country. Yeah, I've had much time and connection over around 30 years with the Indigenous people of this country, but also up in Arnhem Land, where I've been culturally adopted as family. Up there, Millawonga is, who couldn't join us today, she's my culturally adopted mother. Hopefully we'll have another event where you can meet her. I'd love to introduce you to Millawonga, both Sabra and Rahelio. I think you'd really appreciate her. She knows her culture incredibly well and travels the world and shares so much about universal balance and how the Aboriginal people have used practices and traditions of keeping in balance with all of nature. So yeah, thank you for having me here, and it's an honor to share time with you all. And thank you so much for the elders, Sabra and Rahelio, for being here. Thanks, Adam.
Mm.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, so thank you everyone for joining us in this West room here. I'm going to introduce myself in my language here. Shago, Skano, Swanenziok, Swakleku, Skano Koka, Otnisi, Neo Tehuti, Ni Shio Kwete Taha, Ni Mashika, Ni Hodinashoni, Ni Washu, Niawakan Abshut, Niawakan Lekshut, Niawakan Owl. So, yeah, as I mentioned, my name's Adam Childo Feather, and I'm just grateful to be part of this wonderful Wisdom Weavers and Heart community. It's a beautiful thing to see, you know, both organizations come together in this way, and to be part of this One World Unity Week. And I want to just express gratitude for One World Unity Week, accepting us to be part of it in this way, and to collaborate and to help unify and come together in a good way. So very grateful for that. And in this room, you'll have the opportunity and chance, everyone that is listening, to ask questions. And as I had mentioned before, I hope you have an intention for yourself. So throughout I'll just kind of open up the conversation, and what I'm thinking is I'll start with Sabra and ask her a question, and then go to Rahelio, and just let the conversation naturally form that way. And along the way, If you have questions, please type those into the chat, and Julian will address that, and Julian will help me, keep me on track, and help me with the questions. He'll also address the questions in that way. So again, Niwa, thank you everyone for joining us here this day. So I'd like to start and welcome you again, Sabra. I'm as I mentioned, very grateful to be in this room with you. And I would like to, if nobody knows so much about everyone, what I'd like to do is just start with asking where you're from, and any other details that pertain to where you are and your work.
All right, I've asked that of everyone else as well. I am on the island of Kaua'i, which is the northernmost island in the Hawaiian archipelago. Well, it's the more northernmost inhabited island. We have several dozen that are further north of us that are inhabited by the birds and the monk seals and all the rest of those animals. I teach Hawaiian studies here on the island of Kaua'i, most kindergarten through 5th grade, about 125 students in a small private school. And then also I teach hula to the high school students in what we call a halau, or a school of hula. And in addition to that, I do support the Hawaiian Studies program in the public schools on Kaua'i. We have 8 public schools around the island. We're just a little island, and we have less than 80,000 people who live here. And right now, it is very quiet because we really have hardly any visitors, if any at all, because we have been closed. Because of COVID, we have been very quiet and actually very safe. We have very, very few cases of COVID. And most of those were from people who had gone to Las Vegas for a convention and came home, with it. So we're opening up carefully, safely, and with a lot of concern and a lot of aloha for our community. Next.
Thank you, Sabra. And Rahelio, if you'd like to introduce and let everyone know where you're coming from and the work you do there, that'd be great. Oh, you're on mute, brother.
Yes. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yep, we're good.
Oh, okay, cool. I'm in Sedona, Arizona. Sedona has become very famous. The Red Rock Mountains, and it's a major attraction for people on spiritual pilgrimage. I've been here 33 years. Before I got here, I lived over on Maui for 6 years. In my life, my ancestry comes out of Mexico, but I didn't receive my native roots from there, from my family, because it had been cut, relatively speaking. But as I began to become as a teenager, I began to have mystical experiences and had encounters with very powerful beings. And I dropped out of college in California, went to Maui, and I had a close encounter with a UFO there. It came right down over my head, hovered over my head, humming a high-pitched ooh. It sang over me. It was bright as a lightning bolt. It was only a little ways above my head. My friend came out of the house and called out to me, "Rahelio, it's a UFO." But for me, my mind was like, my rational mind could not go there. It was not a part of my mental inventory. So I said, it's not a plane, it's not a helicopter. And then he's yelling UFO. And so I had to laugh at myself because my mind was not ready for that at that time. And it tipped on its side and disappeared. A week later, laying in my bed, in the evening, my head would ring high-pitched E sound. And the third night, my medulla began to hum and my crown chakra opened up and a beam of energy came into my body. And it was these women speaking to me, and they told me just to relax and go with it, that they were balancing my energy. and they put this energy in my body, very beautiful energy. 3 years later, I came here to Sedona, 1987. It was the summer solstice. I didn't know where I was supposed to be. I just knew that I was supposed to find a place on the mainland here that was a sacred place for me. The day I got to Sedona, again, I had an encounter where a flame of energy tapped me on my forehead. I was in a meditation. It tapped me. About 20 seconds, it tapped me on my mind's eye. Opened my crown chakra up, and the same women began to speak to me again. And they said to me, "This is where you've come to do your work. You're to be a spiritual guide. Speak of love and inspiration, because a great awakening is coming. It has been prophesied by the ancient cultures around the world." So that introduced me here. And when I was in college, I was the head of a Native American student organization. It was more political, cultural. It wasn't so much the spiritual. Hadn't awakened to the red road yet. And I met a medicine man that invited me to come and live with him in Nevada and some others he invited. But I had already been agreed to go to Hawaii, and that's where my heart was set. His name was Rolling Thunder, famous shaman medicine man back in the days, back in the 80s. And he told me that later I would walk the red road. And so when I got to Sedona, within a few months, I began to have visions, and the mountains came to me as ancestor spirits. I think they're either emanations of the Mother Earth soul, or they're like guardian spirits. They were red rock faces, ancient. They were so powerful, they blew me away. First in a dream, then in the waking state, driving down the highway, I saw the formation. And as I saw that formation for the very first time, it appeared in front of me, in front of my car. Those ancient beings were looking into my mind, and then I saw me in the dream I'd had, the vision I'd had a week before, down about 7 miles down from where I was driving. I bilocated out of my car, and I was there in the dream state, having that occurrence, that re-experiencing that, saying to them, "Why me? Why are you looking at me?" And then I'm back in my car trying to drive with them in front of me, in front of the car, looking into my mind. And again, I'm seeing me down there 7 miles away. And I bilocated over there again, saying, "Why me? Why are you looking at me?" So I drove down the highway like that, bilocating. And so I had other experiences. And the Indian people came to me in my dream time, and they spoke to me. They didn't speak to me. They just looked at me. They looked at me with no words, but they told me, they said, they want me to do the songs and do the ceremony and do the blessings and do it the right way. With no words, they told me that. They're very determined, very passionate. They were upset with so many people coming to Sedona, but not recognizing that the land is sacred. They wanted me to represent. So I said, I didn't grow up with all that. You're going to have to teach me. I kind of pushed it back on them. And then later, different elders came to this land, and different people I could sit with and learn from and learn ceremony from. But mostly I was self-taught, because I was so driven to understand that I reached back into the Toltec wisdom, and then I reach into every wisdom tradition I can to understand a little bit better the big story, the big picture. And so that's been my work, is to be an activator for people coming on their spiritual paths. And I work with thousands and thousands and thousands of people through the 33 years I've been here as a spiritual guide. It allowed me to develop my own healing system based on ancient tradition. But I help people clear trauma and anxiety and stress and negative self-programming. And I hold the ceremonies, and I just show up the best I can, and stay steadfast with recognizing that I'm in sacred land, and that I can, always remember that where I am, and hold a prayer in my heart before I do anything, and stay conscious that way. So I hope that was helpful.
Yes, definitely. Thank you, Rahelio. I love your story on how spirit brought you to Sedona, and yeah, thank you, because that's important. A very sacred land out there, and obviously, those star beings wanted to help set you up to where you are now, and so I know you're a big contributor and blessing to that land. So thank you.
Thank you.
And back to you, Sabra. I wanna make sure I'm saying your name right. It's Sabra.
It's simply Sabra. My mother's
Sabra.
name was Sarah, and in Hawaiian style, my father's nickname was Brother, and so it was a combination between Sarah and Brother. But I see that we have someone from University of Alaska Fairbanks here, and that's Judy Ramos, Tlingit from Alaska, who's on the faculty of UA Fairbanks. And I wanted to say aloha to you because I lived in Alaska for many years. And as Rahelio was sharing what inspired him to do the work he's doing, I worked for the University of Alaska Fairbanks as well. Lived in Fairbanks in Esther for 11 years, 3 years in Anchorage. And I actually love Alaska. You know, if Hawaii hadn't called me to come home, I might still be there because it is a beautiful country and I love it very much. So as I was a journalist at the time, a photojournalist and a writer and a photographer, and I very much enjoyed going out to do stories on that beautiful land. Getting up into the Brooks Range with the people who were studying the caribou, getting out on the Yukon River with those who were studying the geology of the Yukon. It was just fascinating because we did a float trip from the Canadian border down to Fairbanks to the bridge and many other things. When we moved to Anchorage, I began to work for the Doyon Corporation, which Judy will know of. And in working for Doyon, I was out on the lower Kuskokwim River at a fishing camp. Actually, I went out to photograph the salmon run and to record the salmon roe is like gold to many people. And there were specialists there from Japan who would pack the salmon roe so carefully. And then they would air freight it back to Japan. But as I was sitting there, it was a newspaper. I don't even know if it still exists. It was called the Tundra Times. The Tundra Times had a front page article on the poor condition of Native Hawaiians in Hawaii. And I had to ask myself, what do you mean? What happened? I had gone to a very good high school. It was called Kamehameha School, which is a private school here in the islands. You have to be Hawaiian to attend that school. It is the largest nonprofit in the United States because of all the land that it owns in Hawaii and across the country. And the sole purpose is education of Native Hawaiian children. So I was very honored to have been admitted there. So I had to ask myself, why? What happened to Hawaii? Why do we have the highest high school dropout? Why do we have the highest diabetes? Why do we have the highest number of people who are homeless? All of these questions really, really bothered me. And I began to pitch stories to come home to the islands. At the time, I was a freelance contract journalist to Time Magazine, Life Magazine, and National Geographic. And so I pitched a story to National Geographic to do an article about a very, very, very private island here in Hawaii called Ni'ihau. Ni'ihau has been privately owned for centuries, since the 1800s. And it is one of the very few places left in Hawaii where Native Hawaiian people, this is their first language. And it's a particular dialect. It's really quite beautiful. It's a particular dialect of Hawaiian. But life is very simple. There is no commercialism. It is all fishing, very little farming because it's very dry. And they have goats, and so they do some hunts, commercial hunts, where people pay to go over to hunt. But anyway, I felt the call to come home to the islands and have felt the call to remain here and to do all I can in my lifetime to lift up my community. And so that's where it is. That's where my heart is. That's where my time goes. And I'm so happy to be here. All right, but you had a question, Adam. Repeat your question because I've strayed.
No, that's good. Thank you for speaking on more of the work, you know, that you've done, and you know, the work that you're doing. Yeah, I just before we jump back over to Rahelio, and I know we have one question, I believe, for him, but before we really start to get into the questions, and I'll start with you, Sabra, and just ask you before, and um, and I would also like to tell the audience as well, again, if you have any questions during the duration of this, please type it in, and Julian will address that. So, Sabra, one question. You know, this year, 2020, has been quite the year. Very intense, lots going on. And so maybe you could, if you have any, you know, words of wisdom, or, you know, however you like to relate, maybe how that impacted you as well. Because, you know, we started off with natural disasters and this pandemic hit, and now we're in the midst of all these riots. So lots going on. And if you could speak to that and any words of wisdom you might want to share with the audience, that'd be great.
You know, if I have any message today to anyone, it is to keep the aloha. Ho'aloha. Aloha. Alo. Alo means your presence. Alo literally means your face, but it also means your presence. And as you know, as many of you have experienced, sometimes you feel someone is going to call you or they're going to show up at your front door before they actually get there. It's because their presence, you feel their presence beyond the physical, yeah? The ha is your breath of life. All of us have breath of life. And that's what we share. We share the breath of life. Aloha. And oh my gosh, you know, for a small population, we have actually a kind of a high, we have several of our young people are taking their lives. And it's so sad to me because I want them to know that there is hope, that we will survive. We have, look at us as Native people, as people, period. We have survived many epidemics around the world. We have survived, and we will continue to survive if we hang together, if we work together, if we share that aloha, if we share that respect, if we share our resources. Oh my gosh, it's just been amazing. People will come to me at my school or at my little apartment, and they will have boxes of fresh vegetables and food. After the 24. Okay. Anyway, I want everybody here to know there is hope. You know, there is hope. And please sustain and please continue. And you know, I can look at all your faces here, the ones I can see and the ones I can't see who have answered in the chat. And I know that you are of service to your community, to your family, to your community, to your village. And that's where the answer is. Be of service to the environment. Look at how much we have to take care of. Look at the difference that it has made in our atmosphere, in our ocean, simply by the fact that so much has slowed down, has even stopped. Listen to the birds. They seem to be louder, either that or there's less noise, you know, that's interfering with them. It's been amazing what we have seen. Our skies have cleared. Our ocean is cleared. The seaweed is thriving. The fish are thriving. There's less boat traffic. There is less everything in the ocean You know, it's amazing what is happening to our earth because we are staying still for a change. And how wonderful and you know, it's almost like if you love the earth, stay still. So I'm trying. Yeah, I am. So anyway, Adam, I
Mm,
if that answers your
thank
question.
you. Yes, yes, thank you. Thank you for sure. Definitely. And yeah, Rahelio, I pose the same question to you. Any words of wisdom you might have for the
Repeat that
audience out
question to
there in
me.
these times?
Repeat that question for me.
Oh, yeah, yeah, no problem. I was just asking for words of wisdom or guidance you might have for people, as this year progresses, the
Yeah,
beginning of
you mentioned that what's some of the indications behind it, etc., like that. You know,
oh,
I started off talking about a great awakening coming. And speaking of
mm,
love and inspiration, I looked into the Toltec wisdom. Uh, the Lord Quetzalcoatl, the Mayas called him Kukulkan. They had the great calendar system that he gave. Spoke of times of prophecy. Spoke of a time of 13 heavens and 9 hells. The end of the 13th heaven began with the arrival of Cortez and the destruction of the indigenous world in the Americas. The beginning of the destruction, the first hell began. Each cycle, each period was 52 years. The ninth hell ended in 1987. This was a harmonic convergence. And so this is when indigenous people begin to begin to again awaken to the sacred fires, begin to come back, and the wisdom begin to come back. And in 1991 was a solar eclipse. I happened to be in Mexico at that time. It was a 7+ minute total eclipse of the sun, black noonday ball in the sky. It was the most incredible thing. And at that time, there were many UFOs that were starting now to be filmed over Mexico. And the elders have said that this is the time of remembering that our ancestors from the stars are coming to wake us up, that we are in the time of awakening. The people speak of the end of the Mayan calendar 2012. That was the end of the 5th sun. The birth of the 6th sun began in 1991 with that eclipse. So that eclipse began this new cycle, this new time was beginning. And so coming to 2012, we come to a period where the old sun has now come to its peak and declining. It's much like when you have the sunset in the west. It's still light for 20 minutes, half an hour longer. The old cycle has ended, but we're still in the twilight of that old cycle. This new sun has been born, has birthed, has come forth. In 2012, they came to equal place, with the one dwindling and the other rising. And as the one is dwindling, with it goes the shadow of the old ego mind condition. You might think about patriarchal power system, that there's dominance in one culture dominating other culture, one religion trying to dominate another. This patriarchal conquest consciousness has been dominating the planet. So the shadow of that is coming up as it is losing its grip. And the people who are programmed of that are trying to hold on to that way of being, dominating the earth, dominating the environment, dominating the animals. No respect for the spirit of life, or the breath of life in all our relations. So this way of living is trying to hold on, but it's also losing its momentum as people begin to awaken, that no longer asleep to the fact that is more than just this material reality we live in. We live in as spiritual beings, begin to remember ourselves. And so 2020, back in 2010, we talked about 2020 being the trigger of this awakening, bringing on the greater shifts where we have to look at our own shadow and bring light into it. And so we have certain leaders in the country, in the world, who are bringing up the shadow and polarizing the people. It's a part of the divine plan for the shadow to be exposed, for us to awaken to the light within us by forgiving our own shadow, forgiving our own lack of love, forgiving our own separation consciousness, because we are part of that. It's not us against them, that we are all one. And so it's all coming up for us to see the extremes in the human nature in our shadow, so that we can redeem ourselves, because they are us and we are them. In Lakesh Alakin Aulila. I'm another yourself. We are one as the light of the sun. So we are seeing the shadow coming up in the world. And what we judge with a lot of passion, that mirrors back to us and becomes our reality. We begin to create that karma for ourselves. And so the right and the left are going extreme and are trying to balance. And the more they go extreme, the more they're fighting for control. So this is a call for those who are awakening in the light to walk in the middle way, because both extreme right and left have truth, but they're limited in their truth, and they're clinging and they're attached to their version of the truth. So we're learning how to walk in the middle, to not give our power away to reactionary impulses coming from the shadow of the collective consciousness, to hold our light, hold our truth. So in the astrological world, we see the alignment of the planets Saturn and Pluto in the sign of Capricorn. Capricorn is like the authority structure, governments, financial institutions, the powers that establish world control. And this alignment create a breaking down and a struggle of that order. And this has also been passed down on us, because the patriarchal aspect is judgmental. Live up to this expectation. You're not good enough. You have sinned and you're going to be punished by God. Guilt, shame, and blame has been put on us. So Great Spirit God is pure love. But we have a God in the Old Testament that's angry, jealous, and vengeful. Contradictory to the teachings of Jesus, who said, love one another. Love God, body, mind, and soul. So he's talking a truth that is not mirrored by the Old Testament God, who was vengeful, angry, and jealous and wanted to destroy humanity. And so all of a sudden, our whole belief systems have to be reevaluated. The whole structure of the beliefs are having to be, let's break it down and see what the truth is. Before the Judeo-Christian Muslim religious tradition was even born, it came out of ancient Sumeria, the oldest modern culture, the old world, Sumeria, Iraq, that area, the Middle East. In their writings, they wrote on clay tablets, cuneiform script that they baked into stone that today still survive. And they taught us that there was those who came down from the heavens, the gods, or extraterrestrial human beings. And the different factions were rivals to each other. Even though they were families and extended families, they had a lot of karma amongst them for the pecking order of who was in control. They laid down the law, very strict with the law, brought the human beings in to be as servants and as slaves. And those factions had warfare amongst them. So the Old Testament God is one of the last of the gods, and he laid that heavy law on us. So the Lord Buddha came into incarnation to teach us to get off the wheel of reincarnation, to let go of the illusion of duality in our mind, the will of duality. Old Testament God, his law was an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. So if I did you wrong, you were required to do me wrong back. If you couldn't get me, you'd get my relative. And then my relative would get your relative. And it went back and forth and got everybody stuck in the cycle of reincarnation in the lower world, because we came from the higher world, from a place of love. So this false program has been put down on us. They're kicking us out of the garden for having the fruit of the tree of knowledge, so we could not know ourselves. It's been passed, the guilt and blame and shame has been put on us, has blamed the female for eating the fruit. So there has been, our religions have got inconsistencies that most people won't look at because they're programmed to think that it is the truth. The only truth that we know is that Great Spirit is pure love. And those who represent Great Spirit teach pure love. So we have the great lords and the goddesses have come and have shared this wisdom with us. So now, at this time of the breaking down of the old hierarchy, the whole social reality, my sister said here about everything is slowed down and the animals are coming back out and walking into the cities and saying, what's going on? Like, we want to see, we're curious, we want to know. We want to interface with you as long as you don't threaten our survival. We see our Amazon forest burning, and we see Australia burning, the forest burning, with floods, and we see the Mother Earth. It has been prophesied this time that she's going to begin to make changes to wake human beings up from their sleep. Many people have been in denial of the changes with the earth because they say, well, that's just a greater cycle. And it is true, it is a part of a greater cycle. But that cycle is about an ending of this era we're in now so we can step into the new time. So the time that has been prophesied to us, the time of the awakening of the rainbow nations, where all peoples of all colors, all traditions, male, female, old, and young, that will begin to awaken and come together to dream forth a new world. That new world is already here. It's in the higher frequency of the earth. It's the fifth dimension of the earth. That world is already here. We have to awaken to it that we can step into it. And as we begin to stop, slow down, not be all about the external world and what we're doing and what's been going on outside, begin to turn inward. We're shifting from a so-called male cycle to a female cycle. The male cycle is the doing and mastering the outer world. The female cycle is about awakening our dream mind, dreaming awake. And those who are the gifted dreamers will help lead the way. That it's through love opens the door. And so now it's a matter of looking at these protests, some turning violent because they're being, agitators are getting in there trying to destroy the peace movement. And so agitators are trying to polarize people instead of coming into unity, trying to take us apart. And so it's very important for us to remember that we hold the middle way. We hold the path of love. We hold the path of the earth that's living is sacred. We hold the path of the breath is life. And as we are all stopping to align ourselves to this truth, then as this eclipse we just had is like a kind of a gateway of choice. Which way do you want to go? Do you want to walk the artificial route of conquest of nature, of artificial intelligence and a computer science that is in technology that has got no spirit? Or do you want to go back to the sacred, back to the spirit? Because there's going to be a time when the two worlds are going to split. And so we have to choose to come from that aloha spirit where we love and forgive those who are in their shadow. Love and forgive ourselves. Today there's a healing method that comes from Hawaii called Ho'oponopono. And this is seeing that we are all in the unified field, that we are all each other. And if somebody who is suffering and in ignorance, if they've crossed my path, then they represent a reflection of me. So let me heal this part of me. Let me pray for them also, that whoever has hurt them needs to apologize to them, that I am one with all those people. I am the victim, I am the victimizer. I am the lover, I am the healer, I am the ignorant one. And so in all those capacities, we can become transpersonal, ask the Spirit to love and forgive us and lift us up. And as this begins to catch on, that we are raising the frequency through non-separation, non-duality, love, unity, consciousness, then we have a great opportunity to navigate what's coming next. Because the collective consciousness is going to decide how bad it's going to get. If it has to become really bad, because people won't wake up. And so for us to move forward, we have to bring them with us, because we can't just leave them behind and have a good heart about it. Aho.
Aho, Rahelio. Rahelio, you brought the forecast. It seems like. Thank you so much. That's why I, when we were, speaking of elders, I knew you would have a lot to offer in that way as well. So I'm always grateful to your insight and what you have to offer to the people in that way, because a lot of people do come to Sedona, one of which, I was one over 10 years ago now. That's when I first, I believe I met you, and you took us out on the Red Rocks, and you really helped open, really crack my shell a bit in different ways and help me to expand in multifaceted ways within consciousness. So grateful to you, Rahelio, and your wisdom in that way. And moving over to Sabra, this teachings of Ho'oponopono, I believe can be of great service to the people in these times. And I'm wondering if you might, however you want to speak on it. But I know it's a big tradition on your islands there, and anything you'd like to speak to that to the people about Ho'oponopono and how they can use that to their advantage in these times, and anything else you'd like to add to that.
Oh, well, first of all, I must commend Rahelio for his deep wisdom and for touching on so many things that we have been thinking about and been concerned about. And someone else has added in this chat, actually the high rate of suicide in our indigenous communities. And this is something that is very concerning to me. Very concerning to me, because I want our people to know that there is hope, to feel that there is life worth living, and not to be, because so many people here on our island, their employment depends on tourism, and there's so many who are unemployed right now. There are a lot of them. I see them down with the fishing pole, trying to catch fish to feed their families. And they are all concerned, about being able to pay their bills, to take care of their families, to put food on the table. There is a lot of help that's coming from all quarters, and we are looking at other ways. We are looking at other ways of making our livings here, besides tourism. And we have discussed the need, if we get any federal funding, to put them into conservation, to pay people to take care of the forest. There's so many things that are dependent on our environment, for us to be healthy and safe and for generations to come. We've also talked about putting our focus on the creative economy, which when I asked a friend, what is that? They said, well, we have so many good stories to tell here. And our young people are becoming, they're very, very adept, at video and recording things and telling stories, and said, okay, let's find a way to do this. I only know how to do it verbally, orally, but I have friends who can video and help me with my lessons. What else was I thinking of? Rahelio, he hit on so many things, so many important things, and
anything, and I know there's some questions coming in, and so I'd like to get to those.
Go ahead.
Get to those, but also right before we do, Sabra, I know Kauai, everything I feel like Rahelio was speaking to, I feel like Kauai and Hawaii itself and that Polynesian triangle there has a definite process within Earth's evolution. And, there was a point a few years ago where I was led to Kauai. So when I knew I was with you, it was something that Creator showed me, and it was actually on Mount Shasta. It showed me, it was going through a jungle, and I came up over the jungle, and overhead there was a rock temple, and it said Kaua'i Hawaii. And the next thing you know, I was found myself in a spacecraft, much like Rahelio there. So right before we get into those questions, I feel like Hawaii has an important role to play on our Earth Mother at this time. And I know you're a storyteller, and I know, you know, you coming from such an extravagant, important place, if you could touch or share a story or anything about, you know, the significance of Hawaii and its role on Earth.
You know, well, I'm still thinking about this concept of Ho'oponopono, to make things right, to put things back
Yeah.
into balance. And when we conduct these Ho'oponopono sessions, you know, it is important that everyone who is part of that problem is also part of the solution, and that they all be there in the circle, and that they give everyone a chance to speak of their concerns. And if, you know, if it may take hours, it may take days, but we stay in that circle until the problem is resolved. And it always feels so good when it is. You know?
Definitely. All right. Julian, is there any questions you got on your here and there, brother?
Yes, there is. And
Go ahead.
we'll start with Sabra first. It's from Teresa. I have a question for Sabra. Please, what are ways in we can bring more cooperation and collaboration into the world now?
Continue to communicate with each other. Continue to share your hearts, your minds, your souls. Continue to be open. Sometimes, no matter how painful it might be, continue to be open, to listen, to consider, to share from heart. I just don't know any other way to do it.
Yeah. Okay.
Rahelio.
It's simple. It's easy. Any other questions there, Joel?
Okay, so we've got one for Rahelio. So I'll just bring up Rahelio. This is from Lysandra. Yeah, and she's got a question. I have a question. What words of wisdom do you have for someone who is entering the world of shamanism at the request of their spiritual elders?
And I think the most important thing is have faith in yourself, to know that that light is in you. You're not learning shamanism, you're learning that faith in who you are. It was the Lord Jesus who said, if you have faith, you could move mountains. And so in all, shamanism is teaching you how to be conscious of your moment, conscious of your breath, conscious of your intention, conscious of your action, and know that you have power within you. It's your connection to the Holy Spirit. And for us, we have to strengthen that connecting link to our higher self. We have come from that place that is a divine place. We have this link, but in our lives, conditioned and forgetful, we don't feel connected. Yes, little children, we have a strong connection, but little by little, we get blocked off. And so we have to be able to open up that connection, crack open that egg, as Adam mentioned. And it's so important to know that Great Spirit hears you, hears your prayers, and to have forgiveness for self and for others. But I think most importantly, to have faith that you carry a sacred fire within you. And teachers can only just help you cultivate your fire, but it's your fire. It's your responsibility to claim it and own it. Oh. Did that answer that question?
I'm sure you did. That was you know, really beautiful. All comes back down to ourselves and our direct connection to that source energy, isn't it? Yeah.
You see, the Spirit is talking to everybody. The Spirit is around us always. He's always knocking on our door. The average person is too busy to pay attention.
Yeah.
Is too disconnected to recognize. And as we begin to pay attention, we see the spirit begin to talking to us through the wind, through the animals we may encounter, through the ocean can be living consciousness. It can teach you. When I live in Hawaii, the ocean did things to me that later in my dreams I saw was the Great Mother touching me through the ocean. So it is always speaking to us. So it's paying attention. And that's what's good about this shutdown at this time, is that people start paying attention. What's my body? What am I feeling? Do I have stress in my body? Do I hold fear? What am I afraid of? Am I afraid of dying? Why be afraid of dying if I'm going to go to heaven? So now, how do I live my heaven now? Strengthen that link, that connecting link to higher self.
So one of the benefits of this time is the benefit of slowing down, of just stopping and just listening and just observing and just being quiet and letting it all sink in. The beauty of this earth, the beauty of this land. It's just, it's an opportunity for us to grow.
Definitely. And I really like how you talked on that too, Rahelio, you know, allowing that to meet you where you are, you know, because the higher self, lower self, it doesn't have names, it doesn't have labels. And that's your best shaman, that's your best healer, that's your best medicine man right there. And I think sometimes we can kind of get too caught up in labels and the definitions in that labels. You know, yesterday I was asked, are you a shaman? And I say, well, I don't carry labels, but I'm a messenger of great spirit, and I like to be of service in that way. And I think when people try to get too caught up in shamanism and the definition of it, they can kind of lose their footing, because they're not, maybe, you know, creator's plan for them might be an avenue of something of the same sorts of energetics of shamanism in that way. But sometimes we get too caught up in our mind of like, well, it has to be this way, and I have to do this, and, you know, I have to define myself in this way. And I like how you speak on that. It just, you know, do your work, walk that middle path, and allow that connection to meet you where you are within the greater confines of Great Spirit in that way. So thank you for addressing that in that way. And Julian, do you have any other questions there, my brother?
So Lysandra said, thank you. Yes, that does answer her question. So lots of gratitude there. We've got a question from Sarah. I have a question about listening to the earth. I've come from New York City and answered the call to be closer to nature, but unsure what to do now. How to listen? Is there anything you could offer? Thank you.
Sarah, are you still in New York City, or have you moved out to another place, Sarah?
This is, Sarah, if you want to unmute and have a, you know.
Yeah, I've left the city, but I'm moving all around. So it's been hard for me to really listen. It was really clear. I was a little bit outside the city, and then it was clear I needed to go further out, and now I'm closer to nature, but everything's in transition. So it's been hard for me to really hear now.
At some point, you will find a place that calls you, and where you will be able to sit in silence, to feel the beauty of that place, and to listen to what the Spirit has to tell you. It will come.
Thank you.
Rahelio, would you like to add to that at all?
You know, it's very important to reflect upon yourself. What am I feeling? Do I feel scattered? Do I feel disconnected? Are you paying attention to your breathing, to the rhythm of your breath? If you're not paying attention to your breath, then you can feel disconnected. because you're not connecting with that source of life. The Holy Spirit is in your breath. So as you begin to breathe deep and full breathe all the way down into your belly, connect with yourself, because that's your, again, I talked about the connecting link, our connection to heaven is in this body temple. It may be important to put a blindfold on just to calm your mind down and feel your breathing. It's great if you can sit under a tree, you can sit by a stream, you can be on a mountain. But wherever you are, that's where you are. That's where it is. You don't have to be any place but present. And sometimes you just need, like an elder, somebody who can just remind you simple things like that. Because, we talk about shamanism and how do I become a shaman, etc. We just help you to see clear, simple truth. When I lived on Maui, I was a guide there back in 1982, 3, 84. I was a guide on Maui. I'd go to this place called Iao Valley. Iao Valley, and along the roadway there was a pull-off where they had a tube mounted that you can look through like a view, like a telescope, and you would see the profile of John F. Kennedy. And I would take them there and say, here, can you see John F. Kennedy there? And then one day I looked and I said, right next to him is Abraham Lincoln. And people would say, no, I can't see it. I say, here, I got a picture. Look on the picture. Here's his profile. Oh my God, it's right there. I didn't even see it. So I felt good about myself. I'm showing something more than people could see for themselves. And one day, an old Chinese man said, he was there. He said, yes, Abraham Lincoln, but can you see George Washington? And I looked, I said, I can't see George Washington. Where? He showed me his picture. There's the profile. I said, oh my God, it's right there in front of me. It's so simple, it's right there. The truth is so simple, but sometimes we need somebody to share with us a perception of it that remind us that, oh, am I breathing? Your breath is everything. So put that breath into your body with prayerfulness. Without that breath, you're dead. That body temple's dead. So if you're not connected to your breath, you're not connected to the spirit. Oh.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Thank you.
Beautiful.
What do you,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Brother Jules.
Yeah. We just got one other question. Is it possible to blend ancient ways with modern technology, utilizing our human to tech evolution with nature?
All right. Who would like to tackle this one first?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Yeah, can you repeat, please, Julian?
Okay.
Or maybe
it was us who asked the question of that. And so what we're meaning is that there's so much nurturing and so much knowledge and so much connection that we have with the earth and everything that we've learned from the ancient ways. But just like how the earth evolves, we evolve also. And so as humans, we've evolved to have these technologies, like exactly how we're talking on this camera right now is an evolution of what humans' capabilities are. And so if we're taking this way of sharing knowledge and learning knowledge through the technology, we can blend that with the ancient ways. And so instead of putting a duality on it, we just bring the two together to further the evolution of keeping the earth a regenerative place. Instead of sustainability, we make a new term for how we want to live. You know, there's been so much talk about living sustainable. I used to live in Kauai also, and there's a lot of farming and stuff going on out there. And so, you know, for so long we lived and we're still living in a way of being sustainable, but I guess in relationship with what the earth is doing is, you know, the earth, we are one with the earth. And so our communication with spirit has been clouded by the pollution, the consumption that we have on all levels, every way of sensually taking things in, eyes, nose, mouth. And so that's why the spirit connection has been, you know, not heard of as clear. And so the earth is doing its thing where it's cleansing itself of the pollution in the way. So now we can connect to our spirit, the earth can connect to our spirit, but that's also by not disregarding our evolution, disregarding how we've gotten here, what we've done to get here, but in embracing that and becoming one with this evolution to tune into the spirit, to get rid of the pollution, you know. And it's not like to point fingers, but we all see the ways that pollution is around. It's from the amount of consumption that us as people have had. And so not lessening our consumption, but turning our waste of the consumption into regenerative ways of uplifting the earth's vibrations, spiritually, physically, emotionally, mentally. We all have these capabilities. And so it's, you know, cleanse the pollution, understand the pollution, then redirect the focus to the solution and the regenerative instead of sustainable.
You want to answer to that question?
I don't know.
You were
That's a good
saying
question.
I got an answer for you.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
There is a prophecy rock on the Hopi Reservation, and on the rock is carved the prophecy that we're in these times. On that pathway, there's a man walking the path, and there's two circles on the line, marking historic points. They're called the two great shakings, World War I, World War II. And as that line goes, it comes to a T, and then two new lines continue, two paths, distinct paths. One, the man is walking close to nature. He's got his prayer stick, he's growing corn. The other, the people's heads are disconnected from their bodies. And so everything is spirit. But right now, our science, there are many people who are progressive, scientific people who are very spiritual, like an Einstein. But there are many people who are science that are like Nazi with no spiritual consciousness behind their science. So you have somebody like a Bill Gates that wants to put a tag on us and vaccinate us and track us. You have an Elon Musk who wants to put a chip in your brain to plug you into the internet, thinking that you can become superior consciousness because you're going to keep up with artificial intelligence. We're pushing out a 5G technology, high speed, and the singularity of artificial intelligence is going to take off. I've seen the robots they've got that are primitive. They're still like children. The robots are, their intelligence, they are intelligent, sentient beings, but they haven't kicked into singularity yet. When their whole mind goes global, as soon as the technology enables them. So now you're having to see, is this artificial intelligence and is this technology where you're becoming a cyborg because you've been a soldier and you lost part of your arm and your leg. Now you got a part of a robot on your body. You got plugged into your brain that you're now in the matrix of the internet of things. Google, a few years ago, has already started the Church of Artificial Intelligence, Church of AI. So they've seen artificial intelligence as being our God. For those who have no faith in religion, because religion has had so much dogma, they're bringing in an artificial God who has all the information that you can get on the internet, and everything is summarized, and it could be a super conscious being. So I believe that artificial intelligence can be used in a good way if the people who are navigating it, who are birthing it, have an enlightenment consciousness. Like many of the star people that are extraterrestrial, they have an enlightened technology. But with what we're doing with our planet now, our science is giving us GMO farming. The seeds are dead. We're using chemical fertilizers that are poison to the environment and pesticides. We're being forced into GMO. We're being forced into a healthcare system based on pharmaceutical drugs that are artificial, synthetic, that does not support the health of the body, but suppress symptoms. We're being forced into systems that don't have a living soul. So if you are in the technology and you see that, yes, you can use it in a spiritually enlightened way, this is true. But it can also be used, in a very bad way. So this prophecy rock, Hopi land, shows this path coming, where now the path is going up and down. We're going up and down on that path. But the time is going to come when you're going to have to choose one or the other. Because the people who are going the path of artificial intelligence believe that that's their way to immortality, for longevity, artificial intelligence and technologies to take the place of natural, spiritual, holistic, live food, spiritual power, is that you can awaken all those artificial intelligences within your own dream body spiritual awakening. So it's a false belief that you need to go through that way. And I think the day is going to come when the two are going to split. And some people are going to get stuck in the matrix because they choose to. And others are going to move on to dreaming heaven on earth, living a fifth dimensional earth where everything is a living soul, the mother, and everything is direct consciousness. There's no more philosophy and belief. It's a direct knowingness, because the God within you will reawaken. So you can be awakened your God self, or you can awaken to become a cyborg. Oh.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
So that makes a lot of sense, that tuning directly into nature when the time splits black and white, the non-gray area, it makes sense that we'd want to be more in tune with the natural side of it all.
The living soul. You want a living soul, not an artificial God.
But then it makes me, come to a place of, we're here talking about this right now, and for my own self, just to like bring myself into it, I'm such like a doer. I hear like, there's the problem. Okay, well, what are we gonna do about it? So what I'd want to like present is, and it goes in many different ways, because there's all these conspiracy theories and there's all these different talks, different ways about people pointing out the problems and whatnot. And I'm not.
If you want me to answer that question before you run on with it?
Yeah.
I know the answer to your question.
Okay.
Please.
So, to get stuck in duality mind, conspiracy, who's the good guy, who's the bad guy, this is all struggle with our third dimensional reality.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to be in the third dimension. We're going to move to the next dimensions up. You can only get there through awakening the power of love, awakening your temple, your divine temple, awakening it to the power of the light within you. And so those artificial technologies can help you along the way, but to in your mind to get stuck arguing who's right and wrong, fighting against Bill Gates, fighting against the Democrats, fighting against Donald Trump, fighting against the corruption of the world, that's not our job to fight against that. Our job is to hold our light, choose to protect the water, the earth, protect the children, do the best we can do, and if we die, it's okay because we go into heaven, there is no death. As long as we're stuck in a 3D mind struggling to who's controlling this game here, this dream, you miss the whole point. You've got to know that do the best you can do while we're here. And if we're blessed, we're going to see not too far into the future that we're going to move into the prophecy golden age on this Mother Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's more of like what I was getting to with the whole entire thing. I will make it shorter now. Is that, we have this technology now to communicate with each other on this very conscious, very beneficial way. Here we are on a screen talking to each other. So we bring up the evolution of farming and permaculture, and we each grow our own food to share with one another, or give our own talents. Like somebody could be a shoemaker, somebody could be the plant grower, somebody can be the house builder, but we use the technology now to upbuild and uprise these communities together. And then then when the technology leaves, we all are in tune enough with each other, you know, the telepathic communication that we can develop, and then the plants that we can grow and the skills that we can acquire
Yes.
through the
Yes.
technological age to our advancement.
Yeah, that's not becoming a cyborg, okay?
Yeah, no way. Definitely tuning into nature for sure, and
Yes. Yeah.
tuning into each other, you know, as one whole.
Everything has a blessing side to it. So use the blessing side of it. And when it starts going into the soulless aspect of it, where you're programmed with the technologies and you're stuck, addicted to the programming that comes with it, then you're not doing yourself any favors.
Yeah. Oh. And you know, just to briefly add a little bit to that, this was a conversation and something I had also been meditating on and praying on. And you know, the vision I saw was that you know, there's this waxing and waning of consciousness, right? There's these cycles within consciousness, like for instance, the Vedas talk about these yugas, these cycles. And now we're in, you know, exiting this Kali Yuga, which is a heavier state, a darker state of consciousness, and moving into now the fifth sun, the enlightened state, that which is closest with spirit. And what I got was that as we move and as we're shifting frequencies and gears and consciousness to more of this enlightened stage and era, these technologies and these you know gifts or these curses of AI that are around us are also exposing and showing us our true innate abilities as we move and shift into that new consciousness and age, and that it is up for us to tap into that, because things are going to get, I've noticed after the solstice, like my vision, everything, I can feel more for myself. And I feel like at some point, and this was something I was talking to yesterday about thought, about here, as we shift in frequencies, things are going to become less heavy, less weighted, and everything's going to start to become more like the sun, more clear, more clarity, more purified, more transparent, more vulnerable in that way. And so in that way, as we carry ourselves, it's important to recognize how we are carrying ourselves and what we are using to our means to fulfill and exercise our spirit in this way. Because as we shift gears and move into that higher state of frequency, you know, our thought with the original thought, with the primal thought of source creator, becomes more transparent in that way. And so as we move, I believe we'll notice this shift within ourselves, and we'll see it become more crystal clear, and we'll be tested in that, because all of these abilities and gifts will come back to us slowly, you know, as we go along our journey or walk that middle path. So just something to add real quick, nothing to take away. And Brother Julian.
Yeah, so
Got any?
we've got about 16 minutes remaining before we head back to the main room.
Yeah, well, yep.
So yeah, if anyone has any further questions, please type them in.
Oh, I thought I saw a question. Let me see.
Let's have a look.
Okay. There's a bridge towards species. Okay. Maybe not. Yeah, so yeah, we got about 15 minutes left. You know, I'd really like Sabra to, you know, if you would, to add anything you feel like, you know, because we're about, you know, we're about 15 minutes now, so I would just like really kind of move towards any ending remarks and words of encouragement for our audience as we move forward from this solstice and you know, in this time.
Well, the Yamira, is that it? Yamira Rivera, and the man next to you, he was on Kaua'i. Yeah, he was on Kaua'i at one time.
Yeah.
Rahelio has been here. Adam, you've been here. Julian, you have been here. Then you know of the you know, the sacred valleys of the Napali coast, of the northern coast of our island,
Mm-hmm.
are largely inaccessible during the winter months when the waves and come down from Alaska, and it's inaccessible by boat. Some areas in those valleys are accessible only by hiking. A pretty exciting trail on the Napali coast to Kalalau. Usually in the summer, we go in by boat by Zodiac to land at a place called Nualolokai on the Napali coast. It is a place that called me over 20 years ago. Oh dear, maybe longer than that now, to take care of it. And our mission was to return ancestral remains to their place of origin. And in order to do this, it required some challenging access to go in by boat, to land on the rocks, scramble up the rocks with our packages, and under the cover of darkness to do our prayers and to return them to their place of origin in the cliffs. This is not a story I share very often. But this place calls to us every summer to come in to take care of it. And it is a most beautiful place where we go to completely unplug. I really appreciate the fact there is no Wi-Fi there. There are only the stars, the sun, the rain, the wind, the turtles on the beach, the fish. But it is a place where we go in to caretake the sites that are there. And it is a place where we are able to recharge our batteries, renew our spirits, and to just replenish, you know. As we give to the earth, we fill up ourselves again as well. And I urge each and every one of you to find those places that speak to you, to take care of them, because as you take care of them, it will fill your heart and soul again with happiness, with meaning, and with aloha.
Thank you, Sabra, for your words.
Thank you.
Clearly.
Beautiful.
E helea ma ke puolo.
Rahelio, same question to you. How any last words of encouragement and in this time moving forward as well?
Yes, I touched on it a bit ago, is that finding unity within yourself is in the mind is where all the conflict is. In the mind is what conspiracy is truth, what's good, what's bad. Am I judging myself? It's like quieting the mind, cleansing the mind, fasting with the mind. And we can enjoy technology. We can enjoy all the modern things. There's a good use for everything. It's just knowing the balance of what is healthy for us, what's working for us. And, everybody's taking time to get their lives in alignment. So what this looks like with this coronavirus, is it going to wave up again a second time? Is it going to die out? Are we going to start to shut down again? Because we're starting to see rises in Arizona and Texas and California. Many places are starting to rise again. It only takes a few people to get that thing going. And so are we going to live in fear? Or are we going to strengthen our immune systems through the food and the nutrition we take in? Are we going to strengthen ourselves through the power of love? Are we going to strengthen our connection by being in nature, walking barefoot on the Mother Earth, praying with the wind, sitting with the sacred places that are in our environment? Are we going to strengthen ourselves so that no matter what comes, if you're meant to be here, you'll be here? And, is our economy going to shut down to protect the elders? Or are we going to protect our elders and the strongest and the fittest have to go out there and do what they got to do to keep the thing going so we don't crash and destroy our economy? So the key word is clear your fear. Everybody's got a fear of dying. It's easy to say I'm fearless until death is on your door. It's like, oh, shucks, I don't want to go there yet. But see, many, many people have died and come back to talk about it, the near-death experience. And they share how they were so afraid to die and they crossed over and they became such peace. And beings of pure love, pure light were there, or they'll see their family members or even some of their pets and know that they have a choice to stay there or come back to the earth and fulfill their life here and choose to come back. I know a few people who've died and they loved it so much they didn't want to come back and they had to come back because their karma wasn't done here. Even dying several times and coming back, realizing that the anger they felt being on the earth and the anger they felt having to come back to earth was reminded them that it's all love, that great spirit's pure love, and that you're living from love, you're going to go to love when you die. So don't wait till you die to live your heaven on earth now. Cast out your fear. Know that the power is within you. If you begin to center with your breath, you begin to connect with the power of the four directions, the sun, the wind, the moon, the earth, the flowing waters, and you begin to connect with the element of the real power and begin to awaken that within you, that know that your prayers can create miracles as you begin to awaken, that anything you can do with artificial intelligence, you can do with your own spiritual awakening. And as we begin to trust that we have that within us, maybe we need somebody to give us an example of how to do it, just like we need an example of how to use this Zoom. I don't know how to use this Zoom very well. We have to have somebody show us how to do things, but it's what we do with it once we understand it. And it's all good if we use it in that way. Everything has a goodness if we use it that way.
Mm.
Oh.
Oh. And before we end here and move to the larger circle, which will be here in about 6 or 7 minutes, I just want to, I'll ask Sabra first about how people can find you, as if you have a website, any books or things of acknowledgement, or any work that you might do that the public is able to connect to.
I am I'm on Facebook, and you can contact me through Facebook Messenger. I don't have a website, though several of my organizations have websites. One is Napali Coast Ohana, and this is a project that I was speaking to you about at Nualolokai on the Napali Coast. Another website is Garden Island. That's a nickname for our island of Kaua'i. And Resource Conservation and Development, in a sense, Garden Island RC&D. It is, I serve on the board of that organization. Have for many years. I bring most of my grant requests through that because they have a very good staff and they take care of all the business details, and I just get to run the projects and accomplish the work we wish to do. The third organization that I very much support is called Malama, M-A-L-A-M-A, Malama Huleia, Huleia. We have a website for that project, and the purpose of that project is to remove some invasive species of mangrove that are covering an ancient fish pond, and that fish pond was able to provide food for thousands of people in ancient times. It had just become overrun with this plant that is not native to the islands. But our team is doing an excellent job in removing the invasive plant. And our next step is to discuss with the landowner the concept of actually making the fish pond productive again. Because as we see our shipping, shipping has been reduced. We have become, since World War II, we have become so dependent on outside sources of food. When martial law went into effect around our island, the fishermen could no longer take their boats out. And so they began to depend on canned foods like corned beef, which unfortunately we like, but it also accounts for our high rates of diabetes, etc., high blood pressure. All of those things are that are, you know, not traditional foods and not necessarily healthy for us. But those three particular projects, Napalikos Tohana, Garden Island, RC&D, and Malama Hula'ia, are just three of the projects that I support with much aloha. Thank you.
Mm, thank you. Ona. Thank you, Sabra. I really appreciated your presence and your wisdom here with us so much. And we got about 3 minutes. So Rahelio, if you could do the same and just let people know how they can find you and any work or things they can plug in with you there.
Yeah, I'm active on Facebook, so you can find me on Facebook. I've hit my limit of friends, but you can follow and comment on my post. I don't let people post on my page because everybody's trying advertising their stuff there, and I don't do any advertisements on there. But people can comment and ask questions, and I'll respond. If it's if it's a good question, it's a good discussion. I will be very open to share at that level and share teaching. I have a webpage, www.rahelio.com, and I've got a lot of old material on there. I need to update that page, but I do have a Mystic Tours Toltec Sun Ministry page that talks about my healing services. I do a lot with helping people release trauma and anxieties, fears, negative programming. A lot of people have got some bad spirits in them that's trying to destroy them, suicidal. So that seems to be something that's been coming up a lot lately. People just dealing with the darkness. I do tours on the Sedona areas. I take people on the land, and hopefully we'll have more freer access without this shutdown from the coronavirus. We are doing some touring now. I do consultations, long distance over a video chat, whether Facebook Messenger or Skype, or I don't have Zoom, but maybe like that also is possible. I do readings like that as an astrologer. I give people readings, but I like it in person because then I can do hands-on healing for people and help them to really clear their blocks and obstacles out of the way. A lot of it's the programming that they're holding in their body, mind, subconscious. So yeah, my webpage, rahelio.com, my Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I don't use it too much, but occasionally I post there. And my information is listed, so I will email or talk with people if they call me, text me or whatever like that.
Perfect. Awesome. Oh, I'm ever so grateful to you both, and what a amazing, amazing circle. And thank you for the audience and your questions, and holding space with us here. As before, if you were in the larger group circle, you can go back to that link. That link will take you back to everyone. We'll come together there in that larger circle. Rahelio, it'd be the first one I gave you, that
Okay.
link there. And I think you got the link too, right there, Auntie?
Yes. Thank you.
Wonderful. And everyone else, yeah, if you want to just jump off this and go back to the main Zoom link that where we all came together, then we will see you all there. And again, thank you for joining, and thank you for those who stuck with us the whole way. I appreciate you, and you walk in on.
Thank you. It might be a 10-minute break.
Julie.
Before, it may be a 10-minute break before it resumes back to the main room. So if it doesn't open straight away, just hang in there. It'll be within 10 to 15 minutes, but maybe earlier than that. So yeah, it's probably a good time to have a little break if anyone needs to just have a 5 or 10-minute break. But yeah, thank you so much, Sabra and Rahelio.
Thank you, Julian.
And everybody for sharing space
Julian,
together. Much
Thank
love.
you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wise words.
Aloha, Yamira, Andrea, Judy, Lasan, Elaine, Milt, aloha.
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 Aloha. Thank you, everyone. All right, so I guess we got a 15-minute break now that I understand, right? Is that right, Julian?
About 10. we might get back to the main room sooner, but yeah, just check in on the main room because it might be coming sooner, just so people can stay with it. So yeah, maybe hop
Okay.
back in within the next 5 to 10 minutes. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, like Julian said, maybe check there. I know I heard Piro mention about 15 after we will end and look then to go back to the bigger circle. So yeah, maybe check in there, and if not, then I think like he said, around 10 minutes or so, everyone else will be back on. So all right, everyone, thank you.
Oh.
Thank
And
you.
oh,
Aho.
thank you.
Aloha.
We'll see you in the bigger room.